Oh, goody.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Zombies here again, and today we're back with another Marvel Snap video. So, OTA dropping today, got some interesting changes, and we have 6 decks here to try out with some of the cards that were changed. First up is Mockingbird. Mockingbird going from a 5/9 to a 6/10. This is definitely a nerf to the card, not a super duper severe one, but I do think it will make a difference, especially in some of the decks that we're running, kind of like only Mysterio to activate it. Another big point about this is it does mean Mockingbird can now get Shang-Chi'd or protected by something like Kyra, and for this deck in specific, she gives us another 10 power card that helps reduce the cost of our Scar. So yeah, this is a deck I played a bunch in the past, really enjoyed it, and I think the Mockingbird change is actually pretty favorable for it, since we do have multiple ways of lowering Bird's cost, with Mysterio, Squirrel Girl, copies from Nico, Demon from the Hood. Shadow King is our tech card of choice, dealing with opposing blobs, and the general idea here being we have so many things that go tall that it's kind of hard for the opponent to Shang-Chi every lane, because we can get threats that are 10 power or higher in multiple lanes with this deck. I've always been a big fan of these tempo destroy style lists, and I do think the Mockingbird change probably serves as more of a buff than a nerf to this one in specific. Next up is Hydra Bob. Hydra Bob going from a 1/4 to a 1/5. This was a change that was announced a little bit ahead of time. So Bob I don't think is still that great of a card, but I do think if there is a deck that wants to run this card, Zoo just kind of makes sense for him. 1/5s are good. The move effect, I mean, maybe sometimes that will be decent if there's like a closed down location, though lockdown isn't super popular right now. And as previously mentioned, Kyra now protects your Mockingbird. So Mockingbird will cost a little bit more, but if we do have a bunch of generation going on with things like our Shana and our Squirrel Girl, we can still get her cost down very low and avoid her being shanged with that Kyra protection. Other than that, pretty standard Zoo list. Zoo has definitely fallen in popularity, but I really don't think it is that much worse of a deck compared to some of the other popular stuff. So if you enjoy Zoo and you want to find a way to make Hydra Bob work with his new 1/5 stats, Zoo is probably the way I'd go for trying it out. Then we have Lockjaw. This is one of the bigger changes of the patch. Lockjaw going from a 4/5 to a 4/4. However, it is no longer going to be restricted to 1 activation per turn. Old school Snap players probably remember how incredibly strong of an effect this was, as it originally was like this as a 3-drop long ago, and I think it gives us some potential to be trying out Thanos shenanigans again. Being able to throw away multiple stones into the Lockjaw in 1 turn is incredibly powerful. This might even make it so Black Swan has a reason to be played, because now you can curve out playing Black Swan on turn 3, Lockjaw on turn 4, and then throwing a bunch of stones away into the Lockjaw while also being able to develop another threat on turn 5. Kyra acts as some much needed protection for our big things. Scar is a nice payoff for cheating out a bunch of these 10 plus power cards. I'm not 100% sure if Blob is actually going to be the right choice here or not, as sometimes eating your deck does come with downsides where we still want cards in our deck to be able to keep pulling stuff with the Lockjaw. So it's possible that might be better served as a Magneto or a Red Hulk, but I do like the fact that Blob can get just bigger than those cards. So I'm going to be trying out Blob first, but if you don't have him or if you want to try something different, Red Hulk or Magneto would be the things I try in that spot. Other than that, we have Shang for some removal. We have Psylocke to help cheat things out ahead of curve. Also just another nice thing you can throw away into the Lockjaw. And then just a bunch of the big threats Thanos is known for, like Cull Obsidian, Blob, Scar, Thanos Vision, Bird, etc. The other deck that really appreciates this change to Lockjaw is the classic Thor Beta Ray build Jane Foster Casino deck. I always really liked this deck. It fell off pretty hard with the last Lockjaw nerf. I'm not sure if this change will be enough to bring it back or not, but I think it's at least worth experimenting with for those who like this archetype. You might be a little surprised to see Zabu in here, but I think there is some pretty sound reasoning for including him. This deck plays very much like a ramp deck where we are not doing a whole lot of things on the early turns of the game, and you might notice that Thors are only 3-drop, so if you get Thor, you obviously want to play Thor, but we're not going to be having Thor every game. So Zabu enables us to play a 4-drop into a 4-drop, and given the 4-drops we have available, I think that is a huge boost of power to the deck. Being able to play Lockjaw on turn 3 and follow up with a turn 4 Jubilee, or being able to get your Beta Ray Bill out before you play down your Lockjaw can be pretty impactful to the overall game. Spider Ham, originally I had Jeff in here, but I do think Ham is a little bit better with helping us fit our curve. What I mean by that is if, let's say we're playing a 4-cost card on turn 4, and then turn 5, if we don't have our Jane or our Vision, we can opt to throw Ham away into the Lockjaw while also playing another impactful 4-cost card like Jubilee or Beta Ray Bill. Obviously, Jane is here to draw our hammers. Vision is just a good pop out of Lockjaw that can move into other lanes. Doom lets us go wide. Odin lets us go tall or wide with Doom, and then Red Hulk is just a good big thing. This could also be Magneto depending on your personal preference. It's worth noting that Arishem escaped today pretty unscathed, the biggest nerf being, well, if you play one generated card, you can no longer play Mockingbird down on turn 3, which is a fairly decent nerf to that play line. I don't think it's a fairly decent nerf to Arishem as a deck. It sounds like the developers want to wait to see the impact of Cassandra Nova and how the general stats developed. I maintain that this card is pretty busted and is likely to receive a nerf itself, but seems that is not coming right yet. So this is another one where we are taking advantage of Mockingbird's change to get some benefit out of Scar. A lot of people have been having success with Dr. Octopus in these lists. It can just be really backbreaking. Sometimes it'll backfire on you, but I think the upside is generally worth the downside. Also just gives us another thing we can play out earlier to reduce the Scar, another big thing for Blob to eat. Crossbones, same kind of reasoning. When we're playing ahead of curve, it's a little bit easier to be ahead in a lane and play this card. And the general idea being we have so many 10 plus power cards that your opponent just can't realistically Shang-Chi all of them. And if they try, we have Kyra there as a protecting mechanism. Agent Coulson and Nocturne are just two generically powerful 3-drops. Coulson helping your curve in the games where you don't get the cards you're really looking for. Nocturne just as a good location control element. Shang-Chi to deal with opposing tall threats. Loki acts as kind of a mulligan for bad hands. And then just a bunch of big 10 power bodies to help enable the Scar and just put good points on the board. And last but not least, we have Hitmonkey. Hitmonkey is getting a small bump here from a 3-2 to a 3-3. I don't particularly think this is going to be a hugely impactful change for Hitmonkey, but I do like Hitmonkey a lot. I've been playing this deck a little bit, and I think it's quite a bit of fun. So for the Hitmonkey fans, if you're looking for some way to make use of it again, this Sarah Hitmonkey deck has been really fun for me, and I think it will appreciate that small buff. Worth noting, I do kind of want Zabu in this list, mainly because the play line of being able to get Gwen out on turn 3 and copy her with Absorbing Man is a huge amount of stats. Psylocke, kind of nice because not only does it help enable that line, but it also helps us enable a turn 4 Sarah, which can also be very backbreaking in terms of just having a huge amount of mana cost reduction. If you do want to increase the odds of getting that double Gwenpool off, I think you should put Zabu in, and I would probably slot him in the White Widow or the Angela slot, depending on your preference. Mysterio, classically good with Monkey, good with Bishop. Nocturne, generically good, provides location control. I was playing this without Shang-Chi for a while, but I do think with the changes today, there are going to be a bunch of more Scar decks around. I think Shang-Chi is probably one of the best cards in the game right now just because of how tall a lot of decks are going. So I don't think you can really get away with not running him. Also gives a little bit more of a case for Zabu, because with Zabu or Sarah, it enables us to use Absorbing Man to double Shang-Chi, which I think, given the context of the meta we're currently in, can be a very powerful line. And yeah, those are the 6 decks I have for the OTA today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you like these changes? Do you dislike them? Were there other changes you were hoping to see today? I'd love to hear it. As always, the decks will be linked in the description below if you want to grab any of those to try out for yourself, and I'll be streaming them later today if you want to see some gameplay with them. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.